hands up. How many of you use Facebook Insights to understand what your competitor is doing?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic seminar. I got introduced to it by a colleague at Chartwell. The real interest here was entrepreneurship in the art space specifically, with my sister being an artist, and the challenges that she's faced and we faced trying to get her brand out there. Entrepreneurs, you often feel like you're out there by yourself. So these provide a platform to talk to other individuals, to get some insight from professionals who have gone out there and done it and been successful. Also learn from the areas that they haven't been successful.
First of all, I thought it was phenomenal. It was great to have a speaker who could speak to the theory as well as her own lived experience. So she knows all the excuses that one makes to not sort of progress themselves in certain areas they're not particularly comfortable with, but she also knows all the ways around it. She had lots of very, very good quick tips, and she referenced a lot of really great websites that I'd never heard of. And I think it was phenomenal to be in South Africa. I'm sort of heading back to London tomorrow. We've only been in Joburg for like 2 days, and to have been invited to such an amazing session. And we said, look, we just want to check it out and we'll be gone after 10 minutes. And we all stayed until the end of the talk.
So first off, when you think about a website, what are the 3 parts that you need?
Christine, welcome to the show. I must say it is a privilege to have you here today.
Oh, well, thank you. It's an honor to be here too.
Now, Christine, how do you define the art of business?
That's a loaded question. And I think it depends of how we see business today, because I think the definition of how people create businesses has changed. I think fundamentally business is the art of selling a product or service to make money at the core of it. I think there's different conversations about startups who are creating platforms with users but not really generating a profit. I consider that a hobby. But as far as the art of business, I think, how are you thinking creatively to build something that people want to buy? And in today's age, it's very competitive to get noticed when it comes to creating something of value. The obstacles that we face are kind of not the same way that our generation before have had. So for example, before, if you had a product or service, you needed access to a retail space, right? Not a lot of people could afford retail spaces back in the day. Now your retail space is the internet. Are you able to use, Facebook, social media, even a website? Today, I think a lot of people think websites are very expensive to have. You can actually buy a domain for $10 or less and get it hosted for $50 a year. And so with an investment of about $65, you could get up and running, and that's your retail space online. And so I think the obstacle people have is pretty much how do you leverage systems and resources to be successful? Because I think a lot of times entrepreneurs know there are opportunities out there for funding, to get marketing, to get customers. But it's kind of like, who knows where that information is? So you have to be very savvy. Building a product or service, you are also tasked with leveraging and galvanizing people, resources, and networks to make you successful. So you might have the better product or the better service, but if you don't have the right networks behind you, you're not going to be as successful as your competitor. Entrepreneurs have to be 3 additional things now. So you have to be an expert, you have to be an engineer, and you have to be a storyteller. And a lot of times people say, what do you mean, you have to be an expert? Well, if I'm in an industry and I'm selling a product or service, I have to be an expert in that industry in some shape or form. For example, my company is Vendetti, which connects travelers to street markets. It's in the travel industry, right? So I have to understand some tricks and tips about travel. And so as an expert, the ones who are able to teach that information to their audiences, they get more partnerships, they get more marketing, they get more customers actually. And so I host a lot of webinars online for free. I do a lot of videos, I do how-to tips. And so that expertise also builds my brand, which indirectly builds my business. Second thing is engineering. You have to be able to manipulate systems and resources. And I tend to think that every entrepreneur has a trick as to how to get customers. I have tricks as to how I get customers. For example, I know how to, create fake accounts to create a need in the market and get customers. Other entrepreneurs have other tricks. So how do you use, social media? How do you use internet platforms and engineer it to your benefit? And finally, you have to be a storyteller. I think now, if you don't know how to pitch yourself in a minute or less and keep someone's attention, that's it. And again, you can't just think that as an entrepreneur, you just build a business and that's it. You have to be an expert, you have to be an engineer, and you have to be a storyteller.